So, I'm hearing rumours that virtualization of macOS is going to be available on the iPad in IPadOS 16. I'm not so sure about that. Let's talk about it. So, I think most people see macOS on the iPad as something that would involve Apple's new virtualization technology. Now, this virtualization technology is on macOS. They literally just call it Apple virtualization and can be used to do things like Rosetta in a Linux virtual machine. But I don't think it's going to work like this because, yes, the iPad is certainly capable of virtualizing macOS, as open source projects like UTM on iOS and iPadOS prove. And people will want to see a sort of not as hard way as UTM to virtualize macOS on an iPad, because UTM on an iPad, it's very, very complicated. If I start talking about it, I will get it wrong, so I'm not going to start talking about it. But the problem here is it wouldn't be using the iPad Pro's full power because it's virtualization. Nearly all virtualization softwares that I can think of limit you to half the RAM, half the cores and stuff like that. And I just don't think Apple would want it to be done in this way, because Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro, the main apps that people want to use on their iPad, desktop grade ones at least, will require as much power as you can give them, or at least want as much power as you can give them. So that's why the apps coming natively to IPadOS would make more sense, and this is what is rumoured to happen. So this brings me on to a related point. People want a touchscreen Mac. Now, I don't know why you want a touchscreen Mac personally, but that's for another video. But people see the iPad Pro running macOS as a way to get their touchscreen Mac. I think this is even less likely than what I've already been through. You see, if Apple did use something like UTM or Apple virtualization to get macOS on the iPad, no offence to either of those softwares, but Apple virtualization certainly isn't ready, and UTM, although a great product, isn't ready either. Just isn't ready for touchscreen. It sometimes in UTM I get issues with my mouse. So how do you think touchscreen would go? And installing Rosetta 2 in a Linux VM on a Mac is still a process that requires pretty much coding. How do you think that's going to become touchscreen? So I just don't think that's going to happen with either of the virtualization methods. And in terms of native apps getting touchscreen, yes, it would be easier to implement, but you're forgetting something. Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro originated on macOS, so if they got touchscreen optimised for iPad, they'd probably get a watered down feature set along with it to accommodate the touchscreen. Now, I'm not saying that watered down to accommodate the touchscreen is a bad thing, but it's not what most people want, I don't think. They want the full experience of these two apps, and you're not going to get it on the touchscreen. You might get it in other ways if you plug in a keyboard or mouse, and I'm fairly certain these apps will come to the iPad at some point, but you're not going to be using them with a touchscreen. And this brings me to my last point, and this is a problem that could be true of the apps natively, the OS is virtualized, and possibly installing macOS natively on the hardware, sort of actual installing it onto the storage. I don't want to say the disk because iPads don't have a disk in them, they have a different type of storage. I won't cover that on this channel because I'm afraid I'll get something wrong. So the difference is that a Mac is built into a much larger body than an iPad. Now, what this allows it to do is be thermally better for the apps that it's designed to run, and also just the design is made in a way that accommodates macOS. And I know that sounds really weird, but as I've just said, the main thing is thermals, and potentially you could say I/O as well. The iPad, on the other hand, is made in a body that is designed to keep the temperature under control for what it's built for, doesn't have much I/O. So, first of all, without a load of adapters, professionals are not going to be plugging in all their mics and cameras and MIDI instruments, even though, as I say, MIDI instruments are popular and possible. Well, they're popular and possible, but the iPad does not have the I/O for any of them without adapters. And going back to the point of thermals, I'm sure if these apps were brought natively to the iPad, Apple would do some stuff with optimization, but then does optimization mean a watered down feature set? And that's the question I'm going to leave you with, because no one truly knows, apart from Apple, what's happening if these macOS apps will get onto the iPad or not. These are just my thoughts on the rumours. And, you know, it's up to you to decide how you feel about that question I've just asked you. So, as always, this is Tech on the Brain, out.